Sweet, sorry. What with this one here? You're going to have a bag?
No, I'm just going to leave it there. I've got a little minor issue.
Sure you don't take it with you?
Got a bit of crackle on the other one.
A bit of crackle? It's not a bad thing. Morning.
Can we start please with Matt Ritchie and how is he after the other night?
It's not great news. We think he's going to be maybe 2 months, 8 weeks. There is ankle ligament damage too, bone bruising, cuts. The kid was in, as I said to you the other night, was a mess. So thankfully it's not 6 months, but it's bad enough when it's the best part of 8 weeks.
Yeah, I guess very difficult to say because he was one of only a few that played again on Wednesday night from Spurs. So I suppose you take a chance to keep him in the team.
Well, it's always a risk, but it could have happened to anybody, of course. And it's one of them horror tackles, as I said. You know, the baffling thing for me is, and I understand that the boys apologised, but the disappointing thing for me is that the referee's 5 yards away from it, and these tackles are the ones that do damage you. And let's hope the young lad learns from it, because he's a good player, the kid, but obviously it doesn't help us, and Matt in particular, who's going to miss at least a couple of months.
How is Matt after it?
Well, angry, frustrated, disappointed, whatever you want to call it. It's but he's a great character, Matt, and he'll get over it, and I'm sure when he gets over the next few days he'll get to work and get himself back right.
I was going to say he's an angry man at the best of times.
He's a great pro. The lad's a great pro. If they were all like Matt Ritchie, then my job would be easy. And loves the game, loves to play, loves to get out there, and that's the way it is.
What about the rest of the guys, those who missed the other night?
I've got a doubt about Emile. I've got a doubt about Jethro too. Almiron's a bit of a problem. Joe Linton we think is going to be okay. So we'll see how we are today on the training session today when we go at 10:30.
You mentioned the two wingbacks, and they were both good the other night, especially Jethro who came in for this.
Yeah, Jethro played well. I was delighted with him. It's always difficult for anybody to come into a new club, as we know, but to come in and just to the Premier League. So I do think the more games they play, the better they'll become. Hopefully they're both okay. I just can't see it. That's all. The muscle injuries on the two of them. So we'll see.
So what's Almiron's injury again?
Almiron's got an ankle.
Okay.
But we expect him to be okay if he comes through train session today.
Okay. And then St Maximin, is that one?
Yeah, that's St Maximum is going to be at least. I would think at least the grade. It's a grade 1, so we think it's going to be at least 3 weeks, but anywhere between 3 weeks and 5.
You definitely don't have your problems to seek there in terms of injuries at this early stage of the season.
No, I always thought it was going to be a problem and catch up to us. Pre-season was interrupted, of course, and the sheer toll and people coming in who haven't done pre-seasons. It's always a difficult situation, especially the lads who've just walked through the door, getting used to the Premier League. Their deals probably lasted for 2-3 weeks where they're not training with their club and all the stuff that goes with it. It's never easy. So, but we've just had 1 or 2 nasty injuries, which obviously you can't prevent.
How big a test then is this of the togetherness?
Well, we've seen the other night the squad, played very, very well. We were forced into making the changes and did very, very well in the game. Unfortunately, we missed a penalty shootout, but overall in the game, I was really, really pleased the way we performed again.
Despite going out the cup, is the feel-good factor still there, given the way you played with a week in?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've got a really difficult game. If we can get some sort of positive result tomorrow, then it'll be a decent start from a really difficult run of fixtures. So, but then again, that's the Premier League. But if we can manage a win tomorrow to get to 6 points, I think it took us 11 games last year to get there. So let's hope we can pull it off.
John Shelby came out after the game, held his hands up, said it was his fault, and then said that he deserves not to be in the team.
Well, I don't think I'm not going to judge anybody by a penalty. To be fair to John Joe, he was feeling the thigh a little bit. He's a very, very good footballer, John Joe, and he'll be disappointed, like Isaac is. But then again, if you don't have the guts to stand up and take the penalty, then you can't miss. So I'll never, ever judge on anybody missing a penalty. I've missed a few myself over the years, so I know how it rattles with you, because you feel as if you've let everybody down, where the truth is that if nobody wants to miss, and unfortunately somebody has to.
You left him out against Spurs. There's been one or two suggestions over the years that he's lazy. He says that he's not lazy. How have you found it?
I think it's all about getting the balance right. I think that's what all of us as managers look for, is getting the balance right of your team. And there's no question about John Joe's ability. I've never questioned him about lazy. I've worked with him every day. He's bought into what we're trying to do. He understands what's required of him. He did it very well the other night. He can improve on that, I'm sure. But as I said, I don't judge people on just missing penalties. He did one or two things in the game the other night that only he could do. So we all understand that. So we just get his head down and keep working away and getting the team.
And you touched on the match, but you almost get the feeling it's a pretty big one already, given the start that Watford have made to the season.
Well, look, I mean, we've in the short period of time, the last 48 hours, we've concentrated on Watford, and they've got a very, very good team, and they've had a disappointing start. But then again, anybody can lose 3 games in the Premier League. They had a very good season last year. They've got some good players. It's a Premier League game, it's a big game, but if we can, as I said, if we can get a positive result, if we can manage to win it, to get to 6 points after 4 games would be a terrific start from us, and let's hope we can achieve it.
Steve, just on the injury situation, going back to that briefly, how frustrating is this for you?
It's the most frustrating thing anybody you can have as the manager, but you have to accept that it's part and parcel of it. That's why we've got a squad of 25 players. It's always the most difficult to accept, because just when you're going along very, very nicely or a little bit better, then you lose 1 or 2 players, and unfortunately we've lost 2 key players in Matt Ritchie and Alan as well, Alan St Maxim. So disappointment, but we'll have to just deal with it.
And I guess it has a wider impact on the group, not just the players that are injured, but having got that momentum after the Tottenham game, suddenly you see their teammates out.
As I said, it's the biggest disappointment of all, and something that unfortunately we all have to put up with sooner or later. What you don't want is the accumulation all the time, and but we haven't had the best of starts with it already without Dwight Gale. We're limited up front. Dwight's been to see a specialist again yesterday. Obviously, since I walked through the door, I've seen Dwight train once. You know, Yedlin trained yesterday. First time I've seen him train. So 1 or 2 are starting to edge back a little bit, and hopefully we can get them all back. I think the break has come for us at the right time for a certain few, and we can put a lot of work into certain individuals who missed pre-season. It's an ideal opportunity. In that respect, it's good.
On Watford, you spoke about early judgments last week. Is it too early to judge them this week?
Yeah. I think they've got very, very good players. When you look at what they've brought in, you know, they've strengthened in forward areas. They've got a very, very good side, and it's going to be a tough game. And I was just saying to my staff there, you know, all the Premier League, you look throughout, everybody in the Premier League, they've all got good players. That's why it's the league the way it is. And Watford have had a difficult start, but I expect a very, very difficult game.
And it's the immediacy of the pressure now, isn't it? Javi Gracia, highest Premier League finish that Watford have had last season, FA Cup final, and suddenly he's seen as under pressure.
It doesn't take long in the Premier League to come under pressure. That word is often quite used. He's a very talented coach. I think if he had anything to prove, he did it last year, and finished very, very well. Got to an FA Cup final. Had a horrible couple of weeks. It can happen, but make no mistake, there'll be tough opposition, and he'll want to come up here and perform.
And they did beat Coventry in the Carabao Cup on Tuesday, and their record signing got off the mark as well as Myler Sarr, which is always important.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen a lot of him. We've just seen him on what we witnessed the other night. He's quick and direct and can play in a few positions, and of course, he's their record signing. So they're expecting big things from him.
Thanks.
Steve, Premier League's all about momentum. I suppose it's just so important to try and get that
Back-to-back wins are crucial in the Premier League, in my experience. Back-to-back wins are huge, and if you can achieve a few of them, then it offsets you up in your season. So, a big important game already. We're talking about important game. We're 4 games in, but as I said, if we can get to 6 points, then after a really difficult for me anyway, difficult start, then it wouldn't be such a bad return.
Obviously, you've been busy with the League Cup tie midweek. What was the mood though in the camp with that win at Tottenham? Was it a sense?
Well, I think
of
it gives everybody, it was a bit of relief. The most important thing was the belief that they can go to somewhere like Spurs and perform at that level and come away with a positive result. That always gives everybody a lift. So the disappointing thing is obviously losing on to Leicester in midweek by penalties is a disappointment. But overall, they're delighted with what's happened last week, and we've got to make sure we stay there. And the consistency level is what we're looking for.
Just going back to John Joe Shelby, a very different type of player to Longstaff and Hayden, isn't he?
Yeah.
But he gives you that option.
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, it's all about balance. Any team needs a balance. He made 2 passes the other day which only John Joe Shelby could have played. One of them in particular must have been 60-70 yards. So we all know about his ability. It's up to me to find the right balance that suits him and obviously suits the team.
But with a game like that, I suppose it doesn't take much for the radar to be slightly off, and then perhaps it becomes a liability.
Well, I'm never going to say he's a liability. He's a very, very good player where I've inherited, and I've enjoyed working with him in the last 6 or 7 weeks. And the one thing about him is he's got terrific ability. There's no question about that. You
talked about options up front. The Andy Carroll timescale, are we still on the same thing?
We're still thinking we're hoping at the end of the international break that he's somewhere near. The big concern at the minute is Dwight Gale, of course, because that doesn't seem to be getting any better. So he's away down seeing another specialist yesterday. That's a frustrating thing for us all because we haven't seen him play yet.
And I suppose with somebody like Joe Linton, who's had a few aches and strains, I mean, you want to protect him to an extent if he looks like he's...
Well, I just think the other night we only had Mutu in a forward area, really, you know. So, who I was delighted for. I thought he was terrific in his work rate. The one thing as a manager, you need some options, you know, and unfortunately, at the minute, we haven't been very lucky in that department. So let's hope it can change quick.
So, how much easier might life be for Joe Linton now he's got that goal?
Well, any striker will tell you the one thing, even if you play well, you do this, you do that. I think we've seen him. All of a sudden, scoring a goal gives him that little bit of confidence. Contrast that a week before when he missed a big opportunity against Norwich. So it'll get him off and running. Of course, he's only a young lad, he's only 22, and to carry the burden of not only the number 9 shirt, the record signing, that'll do him the world of good. And I think we all seen a little glimpse of really what he can give us. He was terrific last week, and his work rate and his ability to get a hold of the ball for us was pretty evident for everybody to see.
Rightly or wrongly, because it's sort of the end of the first block and going into the first international break, does it feel like this game could almost shape the perception?
I certainly hope so. I mean, it's a big game and a big opportunity, and as I said, back-to-back wins are crucial if they're going to mould your season. Back-to-back wins in the Premier League are difficult to come by, so let's see if we can achieve it. As I said, to get the 6 points with 4 games on the board would be a decent start to a really difficult start, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you. Chocolate biscuits, Martin.